Do you consider yourself a high achiever? Smart, driven, highly successful? I am so excited to have you. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm the host of the Stress Podcast. I will help you develop your stress resilience the same way you've developed your workplace superpowers. Learn peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. Let's get started. You can easily fall in love with another person, but how can you fall in love with yourself? I think that we're taking a lot of things for granted. Our health, our bodies, the hard things that we go through in life. So in today's video, I really wanted to answer the question for myself and for all of you out there. How can we develop self-love and why is it so important? So let's get started. I really think that self-love is such an important topic and something that I have struggled with over the last years, especially over the last year itself, because I went through a breakup and I think that always gives us a lot of reflection on ourselves of, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? And so on. So I want to talk with you today about two things. First of all, I want to talk with you about why it is so important to develop a self-love practice. And then I want to share 5 things with you that I have started to develop, things that I have gotten into over the last year in order to be more self-loving with myself. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to dive with you into is the question, why is it so important to practice self-love? And in order to find out what the benefits are of self-love, because I think that's something that we usually don't really look into, I went on Google to search for the benefits of self-love. And I found so many amazing insights that were a really, really powerful reminder of why we should develop self-love more. People who love themselves are less likely to develop anxiety and depression, which is something that I obviously talk about on this channel all the time. And self-love actually also paves the way for a more positive mindset, which is obviously super important because we all know that if you have a more positive mindset, you are more likely to be successful in your life. Self-love also reduces stress, it helps you with procrastination, and it makes you more focused at work. Furthermore, you are less likely to compare yourself to others. You truly live your life by your values when you practice self-love. And you are more resilient when things get hard in your life. And finally, you are obviously capable to develop stronger relationships with others. Because here's the thing, how can you truly love other people when you don't love yourself? I think we have all been at some point in our life been so in love with another person and have been maybe so addicted to the love of the other person that once that person was not in our lives anymore, it was really difficult to love ourselves again. And to be with both feet on the ground, right? Because I think when we are really addicted to the love of other people and we don't truly love ourselves, we are getting way too clingy and addicted and codependent on other people. So there are a ton of different benefits, and I'm sure that with all of the things that I just mentioned to you here now, it is very, very clear on why we should develop a self-love practice. So now I want to dive with you into 5 things that you can start doing in order to develop more self-love for yourself. So the first thing that you can do for yourself in order to practice self-love is to create a list of things that you love about yourself. Let's be honest, we can all be pretty negative when it comes to self-talk. We are sometimes not even aware of how negatively we talk to ourselves all the time. So creating a list of things that you love about yourself and on a regular basis reminding you of these things can be super powerful. So write a list of all of your strengths, all of your talents, all of your traits that you love about yourself and celebrate those. And if you find this really difficult to do at the beginning, then you are not alone, because it's always a lot harder to find these things that make us than when we ask someone else. So it could even be a practice to ask your 3 closest friends or your family members to tell you one strength or one trait that they really appreciate about you, because maybe we are not always really aware how good we are. And it could also be a practice that you write down these things, and every week you get back to that list and you have to write down one more trait or one more strength that you recognized over the course of the week, because it will help you to develop a little bit more awareness around, oh, this is actually something that I'm doing and I really like this about myself. The second tool in order to develop a self-love practice is to think about the things that make you feel good about yourself. And that is obviously kind of the direct gateway into self-care, because we are practicing self-care in order to take care of ourselves, right? It is a self-initiated thing that we're doing hopefully on a day-to-day basis in order to recharge, refuel, and feel better. And so in order to be really clear on what you can do, I think it can be really powerful to write down a list of things that make you feel good. Like, for example, exercise, going out in nature, talking to your friends, drinking a hot cup of coffee, all of these different things. It can be super small things that you like to do that make you feel good about yourself. And if you want to learn a little bit more about self-care, make sure to check out this video here, because I will really go into the details of what you can do in order to start a self-care routine. The next thing that I want to share with you is that you can start creating a personal set of rules. Why is that important? I think when we talk about self-love, it is really important to also talk about setting boundaries. So it is important that you know yourself, that you know what you need in order to show up as your best self, right? Self-love and self-care in some ways are very integrated with each other, because it is important that we're taking care of ourselves. And that is also setting boundaries. So for example, for you, it could be a personal rule that you always go to bed at 9 p.m. in the evening because you need a lot of sleep. Or another personal rule could be that you're only doing 3 social engagements during the week in order to have space for yourself and in order to recharge your batteries, because maybe you're an introvert and you need some time for yourself in order to fully recharge, and it doesn't really happen when you are in a social setting. So another thing could be that you are always getting up in the morning an hour before your first meeting because you want to have time for your morning routine, or you want to work out 5 times a week. Whatever it is, I think it is important to take some time to set your personal rules when we talk about self-love. What is important for you? Because again, when we are talking about self-care and self-love, we have to talk about boundaries. Make sure to check out this video here that talks a little bit more about boundaries and how to start setting boundaries, because that is not so easy sometimes, right? We haven't really learned how to say no, but when we start stepping into our own power and saying no to things that are actually not good for us, then we are showing up for ourselves and we are practicing self-love. Okay, so pretty simple, but sometimes we just forget these things and we don't do them, and then we feel super overwhelmed and more stressed and maybe tend more towards feeling anxious and depressed and so on, right? Again, this is why we are talking about self-love and why it is so powerful to create a self-love practice. And that brings me to the next thing, because I think when we talk about self-love, we have to be really mindful about the decisions that we make. And that is really closely aligned to the letter where we're talking about setting personal rules, because once I have these rules, I still need to follow them. And that brings me to this next point of making decisions. So making decisions, right? A friend calls you and really wants to see you, and you have on your list of things to do in order to practice self-love that you only go out 3 times per week, and you have already been out 3 times. Well, then you have to start learning how to say no. Or someone is asking you for your help. Someone is asking you to work on a project, but you know that you don't really have time. And so when you're looking again at your list of personal rules, you know that you are actually pretty full on your agenda at the moment and you don't have extra time for extracurricular activities or for new projects. And so it kind of can give you that peace of mind and that empowerment as well, that you just have to say no to certain people, certain projects, certain situations in order to take care of yourself. And I think when you learn how to do that, when you just start doing it, when you start practicing these things and you feel good about yourself, you feel relief, then you learn how to love yourself more, because then, of course, you should celebrate these things, right? It's not about just doing them, but then also to taking a moment to appreciating, hey, I just did this for myself because I knew for me, this was the right decision. Even though it might have hurt somebody else, or someone else was disappointed about you not showing up or not coming to dinner or not working on this project, okay? And this is not so easy to do sometimes, but with time, you will learn that you feel better about yourself. And you know, the only person that has to live with you for the rest of your life is yourself. So make sure that you're making it a good one. The last thing that I want to share with you today in order to develop a self-love practice is to write a list of things that bring you joy. What do you love to do in order to feel good about yourself? And these are not just things that, you know, are more like maybe self-care items, but I want you to think about things that are new things, adventurous things, things that you've always wanted to try out because you were curious about them. Because the more time we invest in ourselves, the more self-love I think we develop, right? Because we're standing up for ourselves. We're doing something with ourselves, right? It's so beautiful, honestly, really. And I encourage you to maybe write down 3 things that really bring you joy or that you have always wanted to try out because you were curious about them. So it could be to travel to a specific area, right? Or to a specific country or island or mountains, right? Anything like that. It could be maybe you've always wanted to take an art class. So do some research, right? Sit down and look at, okay, what kind of art classes are actually offered at my community college, for example, in town. It could be something like, I've always wanted to try out a specific sport. Maybe you always wanted to try out boxing or some martial arts. I don't know why I'm thinking about all of these things right now, but anything really, right? I really want you to be super creative and think about things that you enjoy to do. So that's all I wanted to share with you in today's video. And I really hope that I inspired you to practice more self-love, because it is truly so important. And when you are more mindful of the things that you do in your life for yourself, the more benefits you can reap. So I hope that you invest in yourself. Leave me a comment down below today and let me know what are some self-love practices that you get into and that you really love to do, because it's a sign for you that you're practicing self-love. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I really do hope that I see you in the next video.